I've been engaged in peace building work recently in the context of Kashmir, particularly where I engaged young people and other cross-section of society, sort of engage them and empower them to come up with their own narrative of their indigenous ideas of peace. Also enabled, helped young people articulate their vision in the form of document which is called Vision 2020 document. So this is the primarily one of the areas which is close to my heart. I've been to different countries studying the post-conflict societies and their peace-building model, including South Africa, Northern Ireland especially in particular. So I'm Congress Professional Fellow 2011 on gender peace building, and I'm also CUC Scholar Study at United States Institutions of American Political Development. So as far as peace is concerned in Pakistan, I guess this is one of the region in the not only Pakistan, I mean also South Asia, and yeah, this whole region is full of conflicts and issues that we have. Or we have a history of these conflicts, but आप देखें तो यहाँ पे I guess this is one of the areas of the world which needs most peace, a region which needs more stability. हम अगर देखें तो एक बहुत बड़ी हद तक वायलेंस हमने एज सोसाइटी एक्सपीरियंस किया. पाकिस्तान के रिसेंट एग्जांपल देखें कि तकरीबन हमारे पास अराउंड 70 to 80,000 लोग वो थे जिन्होंने direct violence का शिकार हुए. So when you see the situation of peace, so Pakistan is one of the biggest victim of the violence. आपने देखा होगा maybe on the any grounds, maybe religious ground, ethnic grounds, social political grounds. But this is one of the things which Pakistan needs, entirely needs, I guess, a concept, a thing which is of utmost importance to all of us. Situation of peace in Pakistan, you must have heard कि आपने देखा भी होगा कि हमारे यहाँ as a society we have suffered a lot. वो हमारे एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस हों, वो हमारे बाकी इदारे में आपने देखा होगा एक कलेक्टिव हमारी सोसाइटी पे ऑनस्लॉट हुआ वायलेंस का, एंटी पीस एलिमेंट का. और आपने देखा कि गुड थिंग इज सोसाइटी हैज reasserted resilience शो की, and which is something which is a hope. As an academician, I see a hope in that, the resilience in our society to counter and to shun away from the violence. So see, when you see the peace building as an academician and a practitioner, peace building practitioner, I see actually peace building in the concept of that how we empower our generations, our society to resolve conflicts without the violence. So this is actually a capacity, an ability, and that we can create among the society, people of the society, those who can non-violently address the conflicts. Now when you say the context of Pakistan, I guess this is one of the areas where which we deeply lack. I mean, in the context of Pakistan, we have lots of internal conflicts that we have seen, but with that we didn't see any robust peace initiatives, peace building special initiatives. Because the core fundamental value of the peace building is to engage people, to build their capacity, to listen to the diverse voices at work. And then you have to create a shared analysis, which you create through discussions, through debates, through dialogue. The second thing is, as a nation, we need to see that are we able to engage people who are disengaged? Are we able to accept the diversity that we have? I guess we, as a peace builder, need to understand that in Pakistan we can make it our strength. Pakistan has a lot of good things to offer to people. Its culture, its tradition, all these things. But unfortunately, the approach that we have been dealing, or people, or society, or problem, that's not something that has helped us. That is, when you marginalize people and when you don't give space to people based on their whatever political, social identities, this is something which is leading to the violence. This is the initiation of the conflicts that we have. Second, in Pakistan, we also need to see that conflicts which we have, we also need to identify and work on the drivers of the conflicts. Those could be economic crises that we have, we see the poverty we have, we see the many socio-economic issues as well, other than political as well. So in Pakistan societies, I guess one of the fundamental challenges right now you can see this is poverty. You see you have the destabilized. Initially we had, but right now we are stabilized in terms of security situation. But we have the situation and the problem. Now, I guess the question of having need of this peace building initiative, I personally think that the young generation, the academia especially, should work around the issues which are the actual drivers of the conflict, may it be their socio-economic needs, may it be local issues on their political aspirations. We need to understand, we need to address those issues. So I guess to create a constituency of people who are like-minded, who believe in non-violence, who believe in shared analysis, who believe in giving spaces to each other, I guess definitely need some peace building initiative, and your young people are actually the asset of this nation. And I guess those, if as a society we have created our capacity to engage these young people in the processes of consultations, in the dialogues, I must say the rebuilding of our own society. That is something I guess which can really work for Pakistan and take it to the new heights. But we also need to understand not much has been done in past when it comes to the peace building, because we really have to uh, understand and discuss the narrative of peace building without thinking it as some westernized or some term which is borrowed. But this is something which is very, very important for our own society, for our own societal existence, and that we have in past faced worse violence, I guess, in this region, losing around 80,000 plus people. So that's my take on that, and that's, I guess, this is one of the important things that we need as a society to opt and to understand. This is the outcome of a long, lengthy investment that we have done in our society. The cases of extremism that you face in society, the cases of maybe the hate or the violence or sometimes intolerance that you see in our young generation, it's something which is the byproduct of the certain things that we have done in our society. Now we need to understand why is this happening. I personally think that society need to create more spaces. You have to give spaces to the people of dialogue, deliberations, and understanding as well. I, as academician, I strongly believe that people should have all the right to exercise their political rights. We have shrunken the spaces of healthy activities in our institutions, in our society. Uh, and that has, I guess, made our young people more vulnerable in societies to the extremist views. You must have seen the generation of Pakistan in the 70s, especially 80s, where the people have more spaces to discuss things, to deliberate things, to interact with each other. And I guess personally, I think we need not to make politics something which is has a dirty job that generally we think. I guess you have to engage our young people on political activities. And I guess this addresses many issues. But when you reduce the political spaces in society, and I guess you make them vulnerable to the extreme views. And on the other, I guess, as a society, we need to understand that we need to create some robust initiatives of peace building, intercultural communications, may it be within the country, may it be outside the country, because these intercultural communications, these initiatives also help your younger generation, people to learn from each other, to understand the concept of diversity and tolerance, that is the core value of it. And third is, we also need to promote our religious values. We talk about this peace building. I guess the word very much Islam is come from the peace. And I guess that's the area where we couldn't produce literature, which is very sad. This was the part of academic, this should have been the part of academic discourse and the religious discourse, that how your religion, even which is very strong, deeply rooted in your country, promotes this idea of peace and tolerance. So I guess together, one thing I would say that the politics of extremism and the absence of these political forums where young people could debate, dialogue. So the whole culture, I must say, of this democratic nature vanished, and the space was seized by more extremist voices. And that's just it. Now you see the political parties, they're behaving in a very, very intolerant way. It's a shame for all of us, where our younger generation is going. You can hostage your cities maybe for 2, 3, 4 days under your imposed interpretation, which is very sad. So, as a peace builder, I must say, I see a lot of hope, provided we need to start dialogue within and across the communities to understand that this is the nation which has to create its own, uh, reintroduce Pakistan's peaceful image to the world, and that can only be done through these peace building initiatives. So this is an important thing. I mean, as an academician, we also focus and stress a lot on critical thinking. But you know, my opinion on this is that this has to do with a lot of structures of your society. One, the value system where you are brought up. Two, and the third, what you are taught in your educational institutions. I personally think this critical thinking comes from very big from your school education, from your society. Unfortunately, we have to understand that many of the things in our societies are taught to our students to not to question from the beginning, which is sad. And this habit of submission doesn't inculcate any good spirit when it comes to teaching and learning. When it comes to school education, you see most of your students at the school children are actually enrolled in government public sector schools. Must be more than 80%. It's a very few 10-20% people who can afford this private school system. But when you see your government school teachers, you have to also understand that do they have the capacity to create and generate the critical thinking in your students? Are they well trained enough? Have they been given ample opportunities to train themselves to think critically and then transfer these trainings of critical thinking, discourse, and all these things to its younger generation, which is not. I guess the most neglected portion of your education system is your primary and secondary education, where you don't pay any attention to that. And secondly, this is a culture. I don't know where it comes from, but there's a culture of not letting students ask questions and thinking something out of the blue, and which is sad. Our education system, I guess, also supported this when it comes to the cramming and the assessment system that we have. So I guess this critical thinking should comes from very beginning, plus what you teach your students and how do you teach them. And this should, and at university level, I personally think it should become the part of very much culture of our research and thinking about on this critical thinking thing, because generally students, scholars, academicians, they are too marks centric, grade centric, publication centric. And I guess one thing I previously mentioned about spaces in our society, here I also believe this critical thinking also suffered due to the overall structure of our country. So the structure means the way our culture declined, our culture of interaction, communities interaction, debates, dialogues has suffered. Simultaneously, critical thinking also suffered. So for critical thinking, I must say we have to raise the ability of people to think. And how you raise that ability to think more creatively is through offering them more opportunities. Opportunities of learning, opportunities of discussion, opportunities of interacting with communities, people from diverse backgrounds. And that's what not happening in Pakistan. So we also need to think that how we can open up the society to the wider world, where our people can learn and share their experiences to the people. And I guess that's a way the critical thinking also develop. And last thing is we also do here at universities, tell me to promote the habit of questioning things, uh, questioning ideas, questioning taboos, questioning for improvement. So that's what I personally believe, and the onus of responsibility primarily for critical thinking lies on the academia, which is not fulfilling its duties, including all of us. And do they have the capacity to generate, to inculcate this spirit of critical thinking? That's the main question. See, I believe, of course, keeping this very recent experience of violence in Pakistan, where the way society suffered, the way people suffered, I guess this is one of the most important thing that we need to introduce. But how to introduce this? Uh, One, I must say that, see, Pakistan's local culture, tradition, has a lot to offer when it comes to peace building. Uh, I don't know how do you see this, but even your mystic Sufi culture has a very strong appeal when it comes to the peace building. That was beyond any, when you see their appeal, that was beyond religions. I mean, it was more humanistic in nature that people from all across the religious views, social views, political views, ethnic identities, all were actually there were a very strong mining, teaching that have a strong minings on people. So I guess we also need to introduce some basic fundamental values to our society through our television programs that you see, through your media. I mean, it's all about creating that constituency. Are you able to convince people to opt for this? If as a nation we decide and we believe that this is must-do thing, then government, we see people like civil society people need also to exert pressure on the government to initiate some peace building initiative. We also can make it a part of the syllabus, but you can also engage media, cross section of the society. Maybe it's your civil society where they can also play a lot of role. Even in documenting, I mean, one of the initiatives I can tell you, even if you start documenting the incidents of violence in Pakistan and sharing with your public that what we have suffered, that's something you are also telling people that what is the impact of this violence on their society. But on the other side, we also need to see that how you can become a very strong nation, how you can become a very peaceful nation, and how the peaceful nations can coexist. The problem with Pakistan is that most of the violence in Pakistan came from the outside. And that's something which we need to understand, that we have to, as a state, the military to military officers is one option. But generally wars are fought in the battlefield, but they are always settled in the negotiation tables. So we as a nation has to strengthen our capacity and capability to engage beyond borders as well. I never see Pakistani civil society. I mean, I'm sorry to say, we have very, very different concept of now civil society. It is always not sorry. I mean, not to say, but people complain that we are not civil society. People are elite driven and all that. But also need to see that do we have any initiatives in case of the government fails? Civil society has our civil society capacity to engage people who are your rivals, people who are involved with, at war with, people who are who do not agree with you outside your borders as well. So let's suppose we have these, like the western border, like Afghanistan, is a very, very turmoil situation. The condition is Pakistani society playing its role. I personally think it's not. Second, because of the capacity issues. You have very few trained peace builders, those who understand to engage people beyond borders even for the betterment of your own country. So I guess it's a holistic approach from media, civil society, academia, professionals. If people get along together, agreed, bring some shared analysis that what exactly do they mean by peace, where they want to take that, I guess Pakistan would go ahead. And one thing I must say, I don't, after re-meeting people, a lot of people doing this peace building, I'm yet to see a most resilient nation like Pakistan. I'm telling you. Because of the fact that it suffered a lot, but still they didn't resort to violence again. When they were attacked, they were brutalized, they were killed, they always responded very peacefully. And that's what their strength is. Even we need not to buy concepts from anywhere else about peace building. Our culture is such a strong culture. The only thing is we need to work on our culture, tell our younger generation, and bring that passion and the values of your tolerance, values of acceptability, values of freedom to express yourself. And that's it. And I guess you people are doing a right and great job. Thank you.